Next on the news, a chance to pray with an apostle at a Williamsburg church.
This physical piece of St. Jude Thaddeus will only be in the Diocese of Brooklyn for a limited time. I'm Katie Vasquez, and I'll have that story coming up.
Pope Francis is getting back to work while recovering in Gemelli Hospital. The Holy Father holding a meeting with two top Vatican officials. Plus,
there's something in the air down there, a sense of peace and calm.
She's found peace in the perpetual adoration chapel at St. Mary's Winfield Church in Woodside. And now she's one of the parishioners keeping it going. We introduce you to tonight's Pulse of the Parish, Eileen Getzker. I'm Christine Persichetti. Currents News starts right now. You can be closer to Christ by visiting a relic that was close to Christ. The sacred object from an apostle is on display for a limited time at a Brooklyn church in honor of the Holy Year happening for Catholics around the world. Currents News' Katie Vasquez has that report from Williamsburg.
A moment of prayer and reflection before one of the first followers of Christ. This relic comes from one of the original 12 apostles, St. Jude Thaddeus. The piece of his arm bone brought to the Diocese of Brooklyn by Father Mike Ford of the Dominican Shrine of St. Jude.
To allow us to enter more deeply into the graces that we received at our baptism is one of our main missions.
The stop at Our Lady of Mount Carmel Church in Williamsburg is part of a nationwide tour by the shrine in honor of the 2025 Jubilee.
As we begin Lent and in this holy year, maybe we need to be touched by one of the apostles in a very special way.
In the pews of Mount Carmel were dozens of stories of faithful hoping to find healing through St. Jude. It was the first time friends Lois Moore and Lisa Mirando had ever touched a relic.
We've been struggling a lot, and I just think, you just try to reach out to believe in something, and hopefully somebody's out there that's listening to you.
I love all the saints. I love them all. And St. Jude is for the impossible, which I need right now in my life.
Terry Ann Cava lost her husband Billy suddenly in February 2024.
He wasn't sick or anything, and then all of a sudden, he was gone.
The last year has been difficult, and she hoped the patron saint of lost causes and desperate situations could help.
The holidays were the worst. I never thought I wouldn't even want the holidays to come because they were always such great times and fun, but I just couldn't wait for them to pass. It's very hard just going through without him.
Whatever the reason for their prayers, those in the pews of the Williamsburg Church are finding hope in the patron saint of lost causes.
We want to really emphasize that we need hope in our lives, and we need hope. We receive hope through faith.
I have to stick with him. I have to lean on him. I know he's going to help me.
And while the piece of the apostle may not be staying in the Diocese of Brooklyn, his influence will stay in their hearts, providing peace wherever it is needed. In Williamsburg, Katie Vasquez, Currents News.
You have one more day to venerate the relic of St. Jude Thaddeus in the Diocese of Brooklyn. It will be available at Our Lady of Mount Carmel in Williamsburg. That's at 275 North 8th Street on February 26th at 7 p.m. In the latest report on the health of the Holy Father, the Holy See says the Pope remains critical but stable. The Vatican confirms the Pope still hasn't had any acute respiratory episodes, and the Pontiff's heart continues to be stable. Officials also report Pope Francis underwent a scheduled CT scan to monitor his double pneumonia. They say the prognosis remains reserved. The Pope's hospital stay hasn't stopped him from going back to work. The Vatican says the Pope has resumed his papal duties, even meeting with his Secretary of State, Cardinal Pietro Parolin, and substitute Secretary of State, Archbishop Edgar Peña Parra, to sign several decrees for sainthood causes. The Pope approved 2 new saints and 5 people for beatification. He also decided to convene a consistory about the future canonizations. The Pope is also preparing for Easter, sending out a message dated February 6th that guides the faithful through the season of Lent. in it. He says it would be a good Lenten exercise for us to compare our daily life with that of some migrant or foreigner, to learn how to sympathize with their experiences, and in this way discover what God is asking of us so that we can better advance on our journey to the house of the Father. This would be a good examination of conscience for all of us wayfarers. Hundreds flooded St. Peter's Square to pray for the Pope.
Santa Maria, Madre di Dio, prega per noi peccatori, adesso e
Cardinal
nell'ora
Caroline leading the rosary on Monday night. The Red Hats in Rome plan to pray for the pontiff every night until he recovers. Many of the faithful who filled St. Peter's Square Monday hadn't planned to be there, but were happy to be able to lend the Pope their spiritual support.
It
was a coincidence that we were present at such a special moment to be able to give him that support. As Pope Francis says, pray for me. And we are here to give him that total support. We were here in Rome and decided that this was the place to be tonight. We heard about the vigil, and what better place to be?
Cardinal Luis Tagle, the pro-prefect of the Dicastery for Evangelization, will lead the prayers on Tuesday night. Be sure to stay with Currents News and the tablet for continuing coverage of the Pope's health. Parishioners at a Queens church often pray the rosary in the peace and quiet of their perpetual adoration chapel. It was only a couple years ago when St. Mary's Winfield in Woodside decided to keep their newly expanded chapel open for 24 hours. And it's all thanks to volunteers like Eileen Getzger. She is tonight's Pulse of the Parish. Every morning when the church bells ring at St. Mary's Winfield in Woodside, you'll find Eileen Getzger in the pews. But on Saturday mornings, you'll catch her heading to the Adoration Chapel, where she volunteers for 1 hour a week and enjoys some alone time with the Lord.
There's something in the air down there. You know, a sense of peace and calm. We live in such a chaotic world, you know, there's so much noise all around us all the time. And so to go someplace where you know it's going to be peace and calm, and like I said, in unity of prayer.
She says the quiet of the chapel helps her to hear God better, and it's where she's found comfort during the ups and downs of life, from health issues to marriage problems to losing her job.
I remember distinctly, soon after the layoff, going downstairs to our then small adoration chapel and weeping. How could you do this to me? How could I lose my job barely 6 weeks after buying a house?
But Eileen's faith never faltered, even though she did get away from it for a while. She grew up in the Queen's Church, made her sacraments here, and went to the church school, but moved away soon after getting married and became an evangelical Christian. She returned to St. Mary's Winfield in 1990, bringing that evangelical enthusiasm with her, and knew this was where she was meant to be.
So I came back through the RCIA program. Even though I was fully initiated, I joined RCIA kind of as a refresher.
Then she went back to school in her 50s to get a master's in theology. Now Eileen is a catechist, teaching communion and confirmation classes. And when she's not doing that, she's collecting donations for the church's food pantry. The pastor, Father Christopher O'Connor, says when Eileen came home to St. Mary's, her faith was on fire, and it still is.
I think it's really her deep love for the Lord. She just loves the Lord Jesus, and she loves Jesus so much. She wants our people to know Jesus. And she's had her own story, and it's her way. Like, one time I was lost and I was found, and wanted to share that with people and bring it on there. And she wants to help save souls.
Whether in a classroom, the food pantry, or the peace and quiet of the Adoration Chapel.
I just feel so blessed by God that He's just given me so much that none of this seems like me doing anything.
And now you know Eileen Getzger from St. Mary's Winfield and how she makes up the Pulse of the Parish. Joining us now with more about the parish of St. Mary's Winfield is the pastor, Father Christopher O'Connor. Hi, Father O'Connor.
Hey, Christine, how are you?
I'm good. So first, let's talk about the name of the church. Everyone calls it St. Mary's Winfield, but it's actually Blessed Virgin Mary, Help of Christians. So what's the story here?
I wish I knew what the foundation story is, but that is the canonical name. So in regards to church documents and so forth, we are Blessed Virgin Mary Christians. But corporately in the state of New York, we're known as St. Mary's of Winfield. Because the old town that used to be in was Winfield, which no longer exists. So we're one of the remnants on that.
It's a little bit easier to say too, right?
Yeah, it's a shorter mouthful.
Right. So the church was founded in 1854. You have a statue that's from the original church. It even survived the fire. Tell us about that statue.
It's a magnificent statue of Mary Help of Christians, and it survived the fire. And I even recently had it renovated, maybe 8 years ago. I was starting to show some cracks, and so as you expect for something that's 170 years old. But it's just a beautiful statue that we no longer now use for processions. We keep it in a shrine area to keep it for the next couple of generations.
It's amazing that it's that old. I couldn't believe it.
It's a treasure for us.
Yeah, when I saw it, it's crazy. So I know German immigrants founded the church in 1854. Who are your parishioners today?
Overwhelmingly, it'll be a Latino population. In our parish, overwhelmingly Mexican. And then after that, it'll be Colombians, Ecuadorians, a little bit of everybody, but overwhelmingly Mexican.
Very faithful people. So let's talk about the chapel. It's one of only 3 perpetual adoration chapels in Queens, and about 350 people, like Eileen, sign up every week so they can spend an hour there. You've said you've noticed a shift in your parishioners when you went from a chapel to a perpetual chapel a couple years ago. What exactly did you notice?
I just think it was something that was the whole parish is involved in. A lot of times of parishes, you have my group does this, my group does that, my group that, and sometimes you become very parochial, I guess. But the Adoration Challenge brought everybody together, English speakers, Spanish speakers, different groups we have, and they all kind of were united as one act together. And this has really seemed to brought a lot of the parish together. I've noticed less gossiping, less bickering, less infighting, and a lot of people just want to do more time with the Lord. I think that spending that time with Jesus, at least an hour a week, just changes lives.
I love it, and I know it's beautiful when I saw it, and I know you even volunteer 1 hour a week in an ungodly hour.
Or Monday mornings at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I do every week. Right?
That's wonderful. Okay. Well, Father Christopher O'Connor from St. Mary's Winfield, thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure.
Do you know someone who is the pulse of their parish? Email us their story at newstips@desalesmedia.org. You can also call our 24-hour number, 718-517-3122. That is this Currents News Update. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us, because we are putting your faith in the news. We leave you with the Salve Regina prayed in St. Peter's Square for the Pope's health. Hope to see you again next time.
Salve